Platt Retail Institute is an international consulting and research firm based in Chicago. I'm the Director of Global Marketing and Communications, and I've been with PRI for 6 years now. Yeah, time flies. Time definitely flies. Probably the most interesting thing that's happening with us that's new this year is that we have affiliated with Northwestern University with the Medill School in the Department of Integrated Marketing Communications and formed something we're calling the Retail Analytics Council. And so we're really putting a lot more emphasis on how retail analytics is being used to drive store performance, to increase customer satisfaction, improve the customer experience. And that's really always where PRI has been, is at that intersection of retail and technology and the customer and how you use technology to improve the customer experience. Things are a lot easier now than they were 19 years ago when I installed my first digital signage network. And in those days, the term digital signage didn't even exist, but we were taking kind of standard tube televisions and mounting them to the ceiling and running Cat5 cable to computers, and we had banks of modems that were being used to download information. So now it's plug and play, it's digital media players, it's small form factor screens, it's flat screens, it's wireless. Everything is so much easier today than it was back in the day. So I think that's one of the terrific things for the industry, is that it makes it that much more accessible to that many more people. So small and medium-sized businesses are now much more likely to put a screen or two in a store or in a pizza parlor or in a beauty parlor than they would have before, when it was much more complicated, much more technical, and much more expensive. I think it's just going to get easier and less expensive. The problem with that is that just because the technology gets easier to deploy, that doesn't mean it alleviates the need for sound strategy and planning behind it. And even if you're a small business, whether it's an enterprise-wide corporate deployment or a small business deployment, you still have to think about it up front in terms of, what am I trying to solve with this communications tool? What do I want to get out of it? How do I make sure that I get a return on my investment? What's this going to do for me? What's this going to do for my customers? And, buying and hanging screens is easy. It's the figuring out all the stuff that comes before making the decision to do that that's hard. On the back side, you've got some sort of content management software. You've got a way of creating your screens. And then that has to be distributed through a network of some sort, whether it's Wi-Fi, cellular, Bluetooth, hardwired to the screens. And the screens can be anything from shelf-edge displays in a grocery store to giant flat screen displays. We're here in Las Vegas, and you look at these monster digital signs outside of all the hotels and casinos, and essentially those are part of a digital signage network. But the point is that the end of it can be anything from this big to gigantic. I think measurement is really a big challenge for a lot of customers. They're trying to, even though the economy is improved, that doesn't mean that people can just go spend money and not have to pay attention to what value they're getting for the dollars that they're investing. So I think in a lot of installations and a lot of deployments, they want to be sure that they're measuring whether they're moving the needle with what they're doing. And that can be anything from, are we getting sales lift when we promote this brand of peanut butter in a grocery store, to are we getting more repeat visits from our customers? And that moves into that area of the retail analytics of how do we know who's in our store and how often they come back, and that kind of thing. Can we tell by pinging their cell phone when they're in the store, and we know that they're here today and they were here 2 weeks ago and they were here the week before that. So there's a lot of new things happening with measurement, but I think for a network of any given size, being able to prove that it's worth what you put into it is important, and is going to get even more important. In terms of what it means from the industry, I think the longevity of the show and seeing the continued growth of the show is absolutely critical to the industry. It's a steady underlying foundation that people in the industry can rely on, and that's really important. I think the other thing that's interesting is that when you see new exhibitors, Google is here this year. I haven't seen their booth yet, obviously, but I'm anxious to see what they're doing here. It's a huge name, not one that we've typically tied to the digital signage industry, but obviously they saw some reason to be here. So, I think it's that constant churning of the exhibitors and the attendees is really important for the industry. Oh, I always meet new people. Part of it is that the Platt Retail Institute puts on a full day pre-show event, so I'm interacting with the people who are attending that, and we do get some repeat people who come. This is the 5th year we've done it, and we do get some people who come back multiple times, but so I'm always meeting new people in that respect. And then even the companies that we work with on a regular basis, they have new people that have, come into the company since last year who I might not have had a chance to meet face to face. There are people who write for our journal who I deal with primarily by email and phone calls. I met one this morning who he wrote an article for us. We went back and forth. We published it, but I'd never met him face to face, and I met him this morning for the first time. So always meeting somebody new here. The digital signage industry has arrived.